Hello, you're tuning into Nightline with me, Raymond Goh. Our top stories. I'm not involved with any attempt to extend my premiership, says to Dr. Mahathir. An under-construction condo collapse, 2 workers safely rescued.
Ton, awak diam dulu. Tak mau gerak, Ton. Ya, tak mau gerak, tunggu sekejap. Nanti gerak awak lagi sakit, awak punya badan.
Two foreign construction workers were safely rescued after part of the structure of a 37-story condominium under construction collapsed in Taman Desa Jalan Klang Lama, Kuala Lumpur on Friday. The first victim, aged 30, was found among the debris on the first floor of the building at 5:15 p.m., while the second one, aged 26, was pulled out from under the rubble at 9:30 p.m. The second victim also sustained some breathing difficulties as he was trapped for a few hours under the rubble. Both had been taken to the Kuala Lumpur hospital for treatment. The 2 workers, believed to be from Bangladesh, were working when a large portion of the 6th floor of the building came tumbling down at 3:30 p.m. More than 20 firefighters were deployed to the scene for the search and rescue operation for the victims trapped under the rubble. The cause of the incident is under investigation. I am not involved with any attempt to extend my premiership. In making the statement on Friday, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad also reiterated his commitment to honour the plan to hand over the Prime Minister's post to PKR President Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim after the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC 2020 summit scheduled in November.
Hari ini Pakatan Harapan mempunyai majoriti. Macam mana boleh dapat angka 138 yang tu orang lain lah punya kerja. Saya tak tahu mereka boleh buat sampai dapat macam tu. Bermakna bahawa daripada Pakatan Harapan pun mesti sokong lah kalau nak dapat angka macam tu.
Tun aware tak dengan akuan bersumpah?
Saya dengar cerita macam-macam. Nak suruh saya kekal sampai 20 tahun lagi. Saya umur dah 94. Lagi beberapa bulan 95. Mana boleh tahan?
He said this in response to claims in a news portal that 138 MPs had signed statutory declarations in support of him completing a full term as the Prime Minister. Datuk Seri Anwar, in a statement on Thursday, raised issues involving efforts from PAS, a group from UMNO, and a small number of PKR members to collect signatures to support Tun Dr. Mahathir's leadership. The PKR president had also stressed that Tun Dr. Mahathir was not involved in such efforts and that the latter would resign as promised under the power transition plan. Tun Dr. Mahathir earlier performed the groundbreaking for the Villa Sirahan Phase 2 project and a visit to the Rebungan Resort Langkawi in Ulu Melaka, Langkawi. At the same media conference, Tun Dr. Mahathir also revealed that he has conveyed Malaysia's steadfast support for China in handling the ongoing COVID-19 epidemic. In the more than half-hour telephone conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday, Tun Dr. Mahathir also expressed confidence in every effort being undertaken by the President and his government in this regard.
Kita menyatakan perasaan simpati kita kepada Jinping dan kita berterima kasih kerana jelas sekali Presiden China ini mengambil berat tentang perkara ini dan mengambil tindakan yang luar biasa untuk membantas penyaluran penyakit ini. Saya fikir dia membuat apa yang mungkin dilakukan dan ini dengan ini kita berterima kasih kepada dia dan dia juga menolong supaya kita dapat bawa balik rakyat kita yang ada di sana.
Both leaders also spoke of mutual understanding and close cooperation to contain and overcome the COVID-19 epidemic, as well as to minimize its impact. Xi also appreciated Malaysia's friendship and assistance and assured that China has the strength to fight the COVID-19 outbreak and would care for Malaysians and other people who are currently in China like its own citizens. In the meantime, 4 more patients out of the 19 positive COVID-19 cases in the country have been discharged after recovering from the infection and allowed to return home to China. This brings the total number of people who have recovered from the virus in Malaysia to 7.
Keempat-empat individu adalah kontak rapat pada kes pertama yang dilaporkan di Singapura dan telah dimaklumkan melalui International Health Regulation Focal Point Malaysia. Mereka telah dikesan dan dimasukkan ke wad isolasi Hospital Sungai Buloh pada 24 Januari dan telah dilaporkan positif COVID-19. Kes 1, 2, 3, nenek dan 2 orang cucu disahkan positif pada 24 Januari dan kes 5, ibu pada 2 orang cucu itu disahkan positif pada 28 Januari.
The Deputy Prime Minister, who is also the National Disaster Management Committee Chairman, said the cumulative cases of COVID-19 in Malaysia still remained at 19, including 6 Malaysians. Meanwhile, all 105 Malaysians brought back from Wuhan and placed at a home surveillance centre in Nightline, Negeri Sembilan are doing well. Six health workers have died from the COVID-19 in China, and more than 1,700 have been infected, underscoring the risks doctors and nurses have taken due to shortages of protective gear. According to health officials, the majority, 1,102, have been diagnosed with the COVID-19 illness in Wuhan, the central city at the epicenter of the crisis. Another 400 were infected in other places in Hubei province. Chinese authorities have scrambled to deploy protective equipment to Wuhan's hospitals, where doctors and nurses have been overwhelmed by an ever-growing number of patients. On Friday, China reported 121 more deaths from the coronavirus outbreak, 116 of which are from Hubei province alone, bringing to at least 1,380 the total number of deaths across the country. The latest toll reflected the removal of some deaths that had been double counted. Hubei and its capital Wuhan also reported a further 4,823 new cases of the infection, taking the total in the province alone to 51,986. Nationwide, there are 5,090 new cases, pushing the total number to nearly 65,000 as of Friday. At least 25 countries have confirmed cases, and several nations have evacuated their citizens from Hubei. 3 deaths have been recorded outside mainland China, 1 in Hong Kong, 1 in the Philippines, and the most recent in Japan. Singapore, meanwhile, has detected 9 new coronavirus cases, with 6 linked to the Grace Assembly of God Church. This brings the total number of novel coronavirus cases in Singapore to 67, with 6 patients in critical condition. As the number of cases climbs, Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said that it's possible that the city-state could go into a recession. In Cambodia, passengers on a cruise ship that spent 2 weeks at sea after being turned away by 5 countries over COVID-19 fears have started disembarking on Friday. The MS Westerdam, carrying 1,455 passengers and 802 crew, docked in the Cambodian port town of Sihanoukville on Thursday night. No one on board was found to be carrying the virus. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Thursday has confirmed the 15th case of the coronavirus in the country. In a statement, it said the person under federal quarantine at an airbase in Texas was the latest confirmed case. It is the first person under quarantine at the airbase among a group of people that arrived from China on February 7th who had symptoms and tested positive for the disease. Malaysia has never stated its intention to back off from filing a World Trade Organization WTO lawsuit against the European Union's restrictions on palm oil-based biofuel. Primary Industries Minister Teresa Koch said the Reuters report had deliberately misquoted her, saying that Malaysia no longer plans to file the WTO suit against EU restriction on palm oil. Teresa Koch, in a statement on Friday, said in her interview with a Reuters journalist in Brussels on February 13th, she had emphasized clearly that her current mission to meet with European leaders was to explain the efforts made by the Malaysian government and palm oil industry to produce sustainable palm oil and various green conservation projects initiated by the industry. In fact, she said a legal team at the highest level was examining with a fine-tooth comb a potential response that would make Malaysia's petition as watertight as possible. She added Malaysia had always agreed to intervene as a co-complainant and join Indonesia and other palm oil producers at the opportune juncture at the WTO proceedings. Malaysia is currently acting as an observer at the proceedings of the Indonesian suit against the EU at the WTO. Koch said when Malaysia's legal experts, who would also be sitting in at the WTO hearing, felt ready, the government will be prepared to mount its own independent complaint. Last year, the EU, under its Delegated Regulations Supplementing Directive 2018-2001 of the European Union Renewable Energy Directive II Delegated Act, classified palm oil as unsustainable. Koch added that Malaysia continued to view the Delegated Act as a discredit to the Malaysian palm oil industry's commitment towards mandatory sustainability. In Perak, 4 in a family, including a baby boy, were killed when the Proton Saga they were travelling in collided with a trailer lorry at Jalan Ipoh, Kuala Kangsar Thursday night. The dead have been identified as Muhammad Faiz Bakri, 28, a policeman with the rank of Lance Corporal, his wife Nik Idayu Nik Hassan, 30, their child Muhammad Fakih Irshad, 16 months, and Faiz's sister-in-law Nik Ifelka Nik Hassan, 28. Faiz's eldest son, Muhammad Faris Iskandar, 3 years old, suffered severe injuries and was rushed to the Raja Permaisuri Bainun Hospital in Ipoh. The 26-year-old trailer lorry driver, meanwhile, sustained only minor injuries in the crash. He has since been arrested and the case will be investigated under the Road Transport Act 1987 for reckless driving. Over in Johor, 3 boys drowned while fishing and swimming in a lake near the Tenaga Nasional Berhad substation in Johor Bahru Thursday night. The victims have been identified as Muhammad Rozi Iskandar Shah Abdullah, 11, Faris Farhan Muhammad Sani, 14, and Muhammad Haziq Nor Kamal, 10. Their bodies were recovered by rescuers at about 8 p.m. after police were alerted of the incident by another boy, Muhammad Faiz Haikal Abdullah, 13, who was only watching his friends swimming. Autopsies were conducted at the Sultan Ismail Hospital's forensic unit Friday morning before family members were allowed to claim their bodies for burial. In Pulau Pinang, the father and stepmother of an 11-year-old girl who were arrested last week for allegedly abusing the child were charged at a Sessions Court in Butterworth on Friday. Housewife T. Lokka Nayagi, 38, was accused of abusing and neglecting her stepdaughter to the extent of causing physical and emotional injuries to the girl. Her husband, P. Chandra Segaran, 36, a mechanic, meanwhile, was charged with neglecting, abandoning and exposing his child to emotional injury. Both were charged under the Child Act 2001, which carries a maximum fine of 50,000 ringgit or a maximum 20 years jail, or both upon conviction. Judge Nur Hayati Muhammad Yunus granted bail of 15,000 ringgit each in one surety and fixed March 17th for mention. Coming up next, Nightline's auto segment. Stay tuned. Nightline continues now with the auto segment. Production of the locally assembled Proton X70 is underway at the national car maker's Tanjung Malim factory, with a completely knocked down or CKD cars already available in dealerships nationwide. And prior to its official launch last Wednesday, a group of media recently was given the chance to test drive the vehicle on the road to Kuantan Pahang. Wan Aizul Islam finds out what's new with a CKD version of the Proton X70.
Welcome to the auto segment. I'm Wan Aizul Islam, and for this week, let me introduce you to Proton's latest edition, the Proton X70 completely knocked down or CKD model, which will be launched very soon. We're going to be taking this car out for a test drive and reviewing some of its new features compared to its previous CBU counterpart. Let's take a look. So one of the main new features of the CKD model is the engine. Equipped with a 1.8-litre TGDI engine, this engine offers a 5% increase in torque to 300 Newton meters, which in turn increases the acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 9.5 seconds, compared to the previous model, which was 10.5 seconds. Also, fuel efficiency has been improved to 7.6 litres per 100 kilometers, compared to its 8.7 litres in the previous CBU model. Now, talking about the exterior design of the new Proton X70 CKD model, we can see that they've started using the new rounder shaped logo, which was launched in September 2019. And if we walk towards the back of the car, another new feature is the powered tailgate with hands-free foot sensor. Now, isn't that convenient? Moving towards the interior of the Proton X70, another new feature is the clutch, which is a 7-speed dual clutch transmission or DCT that offers faster, smoother and more efficient gear shifting. The dual wet clutch has a high efficiency rate of up to 97% and utilizes a shift-by-wire technology with a response time of only 0.2 seconds. Adding to the aesthetics of the interior of this car, we have seat ventilation in the co-pilot and the pilot seat, as well as the rear seats are able to recline, giving added comfort for passengers. Now, what's left to do but to take this car out for a test drive and see how it fares on the road. Apart from the new transmission freeing up an extra 15 Newton meters of torque, power will remain unchanged with 181 horsepower at 5,500 RPM. It will also be largely identical to the fully imported CBU version, with minor changes on the exterior such as the new Proton roundel and a new futuristic look for the gearbox. Safety features on the Proton X70 CKD will remain the same, with its HUD display getting a software upgrade and better looking 360-degree camera. The CKD model will offer 4 variants, including the standard, executive and 2 different premium versions, with the main difference in premium variants being an optional sunroof for the car. Customers can choose between 6 different colors for the Proton X70 CKD, including Snow White, Ruby Red, Armor Silver, Jet Grey, Cinnamon Brown and the new Space Grey. The CKD version of the Proton X70 was officially launched on Wednesday. Equipped with the latest technologies, the vehicle has 5 major upgrades and is priced cheaper than its predecessor.
Proton has also completed the construction of its new 1.2 billion ringgit plant in Tanjung Malim. Now that plant now is being used to produce this particular X70 that you will see today. Proton has expended a tremendous amount of time and effort collaborating with our vendors to develop the components required for local assembly program.
A total of 4 variants are offered. The standard priced at 94,800 ringgit on the road without insurance. Executive priced at 106,800 ringgit and the premium for 119,800 ringgit, while the Premium X, which comes with a panoramic sunroof, goes for 122,800 ringgit. All variants have been awarded a 5-star ASEAN NCAP crash safety rating and come with an intelligent infotainment head unit based on Geely's Global Key User Interface GKUI. One is Al-Islam for Nightline's Auto segment, TV3.
After the break, Antarctica hits yet another record high temperature. Details up next. Welcome back. Scientists in Antarctica have recorded a new record temperature of 20.75 degrees Celsius, breaking the barrier of 20 degrees for the first time on the continent. Scientists, however, cautioned that the reading taken at a monitoring station on an island off the continent's northern tip on February 9th has no meaning in terms of a climate change trend, as it is a one-off temperature and not part of a long-term data set. But news that the icy continent is now recording temperatures in the relatively balmy 20s is likely to further fuel fears about the warming of the planet. The reading was taken at Simo Island, part of a chain of the peninsula that curves out from the northern tip of Antarctica. Now, before we wrap up this edition of Nightline, as always, let's take a quick look at what we can expect to see on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers for Saturday, February the 15th. The New Straits Times speculates on the changes of Menteri Besar and Chief Ministers, while Malaysia's best-selling Malay daily, Harian Metro, features the tragic story of a 4 in a family killed in the car-lorry collision. And Berita Harian highlights Tun Dr. Mahathir's promise on power transition. Make sure you get your copies. Now, as we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at a 2-story building that will be part of Dubai's Municipality's Innovation Center, which has registered as the world's largest 3D printed structure. The building, unveiled in October 2019 and registered by the Guinness World Records, stands at 9.5 meters high and spans across 640 square meters. With that, I'm Raymond Goh. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend ahead.